Welcome back to Waters Ironworks. We are doing another video in the ABANA Controlled Hand Forging series, working our way through the wonderful lessons that ABANA has very graciously put out on their website. I will, of course, drop a link to the whole series of videos and ABANA's website where you can get this information yourself. Lesson 4 is all about bending. So we'll talk about a few different things on how to bend effectively as we go through this lesson. And this is a relatively tricky thing to do. The goal in this lesson is going to be making a semicircle that is even, and you can see I'm not perfectly even here, and is 6 inches from side to side. It doesn't look real tricky, but there are definitely some things that you're going to want to pay attention to. We'll also talk about how hitting steel in different places while it's hot and the different impacts that that's going to have. So let's do a little bit of lecture before we get into heating up the steel and making things hot. Essentially, there's a couple key points that we need to remember as we are bending steel. Right, let's imagine we've got the horn of our anvil right here. We're kind of looking point on, right? So there's the point going back toward the face of the anvil. Now, if we take a piece of steel and we lay it across and we hit on top of the anvil, we're not going to bend it, right? The only way that you get bending is when you apply force to an unsupported area of the steel. So here, we're going to forge this out, we're going to stretch it out. If we come here and hit here, now we've got the hammer coming down. We've got the anvil supporting it up, and this is going to cause the piece of steel to bend. If we came, right, and the steel itself will kind of come down like this. If we hit instead over here, right, hot steel, so we're hitting here, anvil supporting it here, this will, cause this to come down this way. You can actually get kind of a swayed shape or a dip doing it that way. But this bending, it's all about hitting an unsupported part of the steel, and the real trick is hitting it in the right spot and knowing where you want to hit in order to move things. The other part of this that's really important is consistency and heat. So if we've got, I'll erase a little bit here. Say that we've got our bar of steel, and this section here is relatively cold, and then it comes out here and it's hotter, and we come out and we hit on this hot section. What's going to happen is that you're going to get an uneven bend. This hot section will bend a lot, and this colder section will not move a whole lot. So if you're trying to make something like we are of this even semicircle, and we've got an uneven heat, you're behind the game already, right? You're not going to get an even bend without an even heat. So the heat becomes really important. If you've got a propane forge, this is one of the big advantage areas for propane forges. They can get a long section of the bar all evenly hot. If you've got a coal forge, then what you'll need to do is potentially work on either a smaller section, kind of move it in and out and try and get that heat spread evenly across the whole area that you're looking for. So let's get the steel hot. We'll take a look at a couple things as well as how to correct some stuff as we're going and see how making the semicircle goes. We've got a test piece that's warming up. We're going to take a look at a couple different things before we start on the real piece. So one thing that may not be immediately obvious, but the anvil, right, it's got an angle to it. So if I hammer like this, then I'm going to wind up with a bit of a corkscrew in my bend. So I want to match my steel to the direction of my anvil. So come in, hold it at a bit of an angle, and start tapping it down. Now, obviously this has gotten cold, too much talking there. I'm going to warm it back up. But you'll notice I was hitting over the edge of the anvil, not on top of it. You hit, go forward a little bit, hit, go forward a little bit. Keep doing that consistently and you'll get a nice consistent bend. But let's heat this up and then let's cause some problems with it and talk about how to fix them. What happens, like I said, right, we're going to hit, move it forward, hit again. What happens if we hit the same spot too many times? The answer is you get flat spots. So you can see we're overly flat there. We need to come back and correct that. And if you've got a bend that you're looking to take out, you've got a couple options. You can come here and hammer down. We can straighten the whole thing back out, start over again. You'll notice now that I've got a little bit of a bend there. Anytime I'm correcting bends, trying to bring something back flat, I want the bend up. If you think about it like a little bridge, you're Godzilla coming in and stomping on the high points. And a lot of times when you stomp one down, it'll reveal other bends, so you've got to go back and forth. That's one way to correct a flat spot. The other ways would be, trying to make sure that you've got the section just before or just after the flat spot supported, coming in and hammering on that. We can also get things that are overly bent. Let me get this hot again and I'll show you that. So we've got this hot. Let's say we came in and we hammered and now we're overly bent, right? This is not going to make our 6-inch circle. We can come back here, support it, just kind of hammer, opening it up. In general, if you hammer closer to you on the near side, that's going to open this bend up. A little hotter would make it a little easier. So hammering here is going to tend to open it up. Hammering on the far side is going to tend to close it up. And it's really kind of those two things that we're looking at, making it tighter, making it more open in order to get our 6-inch semicircle here. So I'm going to toss this in the quench tub. We're going to grab the real piece. We're going to put a mark on it so that we know how much steel that we're working with. And then we'll put it in the fire and try and make the semicircle. We'll be right back with you. For this project, I've got about 30 inches of 1/4 inch by, that's maybe inch, 3/4 inch, something like that. Really the important dimension in this is the 1/4 inch dimension, which is what they use in the book. Using the formula for the circumference of a circle, you can figure out if you want a 6-inch circle, exactly how much material you need to mark off. For this 1/4 inch thick material, we need to mark 9 13/16. And then we'll put a punch mark in here on the side. If you want to see the calculations for it, check out the ABANA book. It walks you directly through it. So let's mark this. There we go. We're going to heat this up. I'm probably going to try and heat up about half of it the first go around, and then the other half as we continue. This just barely fits in my forge, so it can get a little tricky if you make the bend too big, and then it doesn't fit in your forge anymore. So we're going to bring it over to the anvil, hold just a little bit off, give it a hit, keep moving it forward. And as I'm starting to get into this cooler area now, I'm going to put it back in the fire. This very tip I think needs to come down a little bit more, so we'll give that a hit. You can see we've got a little bit of an uneven bend in there now. We'll try and fix that as we go here. We've got yay much more in order to complete this. Do a little bit more here. Keep an eye on our mark there. We've got a bit of a flat spot here where it's not bent enough, so we'll support that. Work our way down. So we need to come in here and support this flat spot. What we'll probably do is heat this up again, wrap it around, come from the opposite side. You can also see I do have a little bit, I don't know if you'll be able to see that, of a curve going in here. So I'll work just to keep that straight. So let's heat this up again, work on getting rid of this flat spot. All right, so we're gonna bring it to the far side of the anvil. A couple hits there. Try and make this look a little more semicircular. I think I'm too tight in here. Let's give that a couple hits. That's starting to look pretty good. So I do need to, right, we're flat here, heat this up and then hammer that down. But that to me is looking like we'll be right about where we want to get to. So let's keep working our way down here. Not hitting it quite hard enough, so I'm going to come in, give it a couple more taps. You always want to make sure that you're looking after every hit, not just hitting willy-nilly on this. So we've got it too tight up here. That's starting to look pretty good. We can give it a tap or two that way. That's looking about 6 inches. I've actually was doing some practice pieces yesterday and I drew a circle on the ground. Let's take a look at it. There you go. I'm pretty happy with that. So we've got our semicircle. It looks pretty even, maybe a little tight right here. That could have gotten cleaned up, but I think I am okay with how this looks. This is another one that you're going to want to do some practice with, get pretty proficient with it. In a lesson or two in this series, we're going to be taking a tapered point and passing it through holes that we punched and drifted through this, making kind of a combination of all the work that we've done so far. So practice this a few times, get good at it. We will be coming back to this same exact technique in a later lesson. Thanks so much. Happy forging out there. If you have any questions, comments, please leave them below. And if I respond to them, I have responded to them. And if not, you're out of luck. But thanks again for joining me, and we'll see you again next week.